You're listening to the LA Football Podcast.
Los Angeles, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you are listening. If you are on podcast platform, welcome to the LA Football Show. If you're on radio, AM the Mightier 1090, happy past Thanksgiving as you are hearing this show. But if you're on podcast, you're hearing this beforehand. And thank you all for joining us, and hope everyone is having a great holiday season thus far. As you can see, I got my little tree in the background. We've talked about on our last show, Christmas season for the Madneys and the Direeds kind of starts November 1st. And I see a lot of people, Jamal, that's like, oh, I can't do Christmas till after Thanksgiving. For me, I feel like they're the same entity. They just kind of envelop together. Do you kind of feel that way too in your household?
Oh, absolutely. It's the holiday season, and when people say happy holidays, it's all of that together. And then, you add some of the other holidays as well. Sometimes, there's Kwanzaa, sometimes Ramadan falls on, this holiday season. You have some of the Jewish holidays. So it's all one big, great entity of the holiday season in my mind, these last 2 months of the year.
Yeah, it's kind of like, sports, it's the playoffs, right? Thanksgiving's just the first round of the playoffs. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then we get going to the Super Bowl at the end where Christmas is. So that's all it is. And
Halloween is the play-in game or the conference championship. And then, Thanksgiving is the first round of the playoffs.
There we go. What a great analogy that is. We always bring it back to sports, right? So show today, as always, brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. Use the promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV. Get a 50% welcome bonus on your first time deposit. Haven't mentioned it to bet on, but obviously World Cup is, I think, somewhere upwards of $21 billion or so have already been bet on this World Cup. Could be seeing that number wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere. It's definitely a crazy amount. And so you can be a part of that. BetOnline.ag, promo code BELIEVE, get some free money thrown at you, 50% welcome bonus, like I said. And you can bet on hopefully USA beating England on Friday, which would be great, which again, if you're on radio, you already know the outcome. So hopefully you did bet on it if USA won, which we're going to just put in the universe and hope that happens. So I already talked to him, but Jamal Madney, my co-host, this is the LA Football Show. This is your UCLA segment for those Bruins fans. Then we'll get into some Trojan talk on the bottom of the hour, and then we'll go Chargers and Rams to wrap up the show. But Jamal already talked a little bit, but how are you? Happy, whatever day you're listening to this, but just how are you on this fine day?
Doing well, Ryan. Excited about, obviously, the holidays, and there's something special about Thanksgiving weekend in football where it really starts feeling like the stakes are higher and we're getting into that conference championship week and then into bowl season. So excited to talk about all these great things with you.
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of, I mentioned the World Cup, and, it usually in the summer months, and obviously being in Qatar with the heat, they moved it to this time of the year. And I kind of like it. It's kind of cool because it's like, I feel like work kind of, I wouldn't say slow down. We're obviously extremely busy, but it's a lot of other people. It's not as, the calls aren't as frequent. So you can have the games on in the background, whereas maybe during the summer months, that might not be the case. So I don't know. I kind of like it during this time of year. It's kind of cool. I got the game on right now while we're recording.
For sure, Ryan. And certainly in the corporate world, when you combine Thanksgiving and then the Christmas holidays, some companies loop all their holidays together and have kind of a planned shutdown for 2 weeks. So really kind of that second half of November, things really start winding down in the corporate world, and you sort of have an eye towards the new year.
Yeah, I used to work in sales, and I feel like you literally, like a person that works in sales, like their year ends like November 10th. Like they just don't do anything from then on because it's like no calls, like, oh, everyone's already finished their quarter four, and like they're prepping for the new year. So I'll hit it again after January 1st. And it's like, man, must be nice. All right. So that's, I guess, what we see in our line of work now is it's just for other people, it slows down. But anyway, UCLA, we talked about it a lot, Jamal, obviously last show. Tough loss to USC, but a great game. It was overall good for the brand of UCLA. Obviously, a little bit of a disappointing season in terms of the trajectory they had going into the year, the trajectory they had just 3 weeks ago, sitting at only one loss and, ranked probably would have been close to the top 10. I mean, they were 12 at the time had they beaten Arizona. And then obviously that falls. They fall back to, what are they, 16 or 18 now?
18.
3-loss team. They're obviously not in contention for the Pac-12 title game, not in contention for the Rose Bowl. But overall, still good for the brand and the way they played in that game and just the way that the Victory Bell game is back. And it was a fun game. And now they face a Cal team where has a lot of outside noise about this game. There's always the rivalry anyway with Cal, UCLA, big brother, little brother, NorCal, SoCal. And then now you have this whole UC Regions thing trying to block UCLA from the Big Ten. The ultimate decision supposedly is finally going to come down on December 14th, I believe, which me and you still don't really think they can do anything about it, but apparently they can. I don't know. But anyway, does UCLA end on a bright note up in Berkeley, Jamal?
Yeah, Ryan, I hope so. I think that this is going to be a really interesting game to look at the psyche of this team. You mentioned it so much, Ryan. Just 2 weeks ago, everything was on the line. Heisman Trophy potential for DTR, Doak Walker Award for Charbonnet, Pac-12 title game appearance, a college football playoff berth, just so much on the line. And then to lose these 2 weeks in the heartbreaking fashion that they did, where they had the ball, Ryan, at the end. Both games, their stronger unit, the offensive unit, had the ball both times with an opportunity to win the game and fell short. And you just wonder how much is left in the tank emotionally having to play this game now against a Cal team that's 4-7. They just beat Stanford to win their big rivalry game. They won the Stanford Axe in the 125th edition of the big game. They're not going bowling. This is going to be a Super Bowl bowl game type of atmosphere for them. It's their senior day. All the noise about the Big Ten move and this whole thing with the UC. This is the last time UCLA will play in Berkeley, presumably from now until the Big Ten move and for a long, long time. So there's so much at stake on that side of the ball. And you have a UCLA team sort of limping in emotionally, spiritually, physically, psychologically into a game where now the odds of them playing a bowl game probably rest somewhere between the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl and the Las Vegas Bowl. And for what it's worth, I would love for the Bruins to finish off in the Las Vegas Bowl, the ultimate homecoming for DTR in his last game as a Bruin. I think that would be very fitting to end the season. But you just wonder where this team is going to be now, Ryan, and how much they can get up for this game. And then when you factor in, if I'm Zach Charbonnet's parents, if I'm part of his inner circle, his sort of thought leadership, his advisors, I don't want him playing in this game. There's nothing for him to play for. He's put plenty on tape to show and warrant that he should be a second-round pick in the NFL. There aren't any big games to be played now. So I doubt Charbonnet plays in this game. There's a question of even DTR playing in this game. I think he will. He's 474 passing yards away from breaking Brett Hundley's all-time passing yards list. He's already got the total yards. He's already got the total touchdowns. I'm sure that's attainable over a 2-game stretch. So you go on the road, you're sleepwalking a little bit. You don't have your bell cow. Obviously, UCLA did a phenomenal job a couple of weeks ago with the 402 yards rushing without Charbonnet. But that was a very different mindset. That team was still thinking bigger prizes and so much at stake. Kaz Allen has been banged up the last couple of weeks. Even he was limping off the sideline of that SC game before his explosive play. So you wonder how much he's got in the tank. So that's all to say, Ryan, that I hope it can end on a strong note here. But I think this is going to be a very close game either way. And I see UCLA either winning by a few points or potentially getting upset by a few points. But I don't see sort of a blowout game against an offensively challenged Cal team, because I think the game just means so much to Cal versus UCLA. And that's the beauty of college football. That's when upsets happen, when emotionally, that emotional level is so high on one side relative to the other.
Totally. And I agree with you. I'll play devil's advocate for a second, because this game is going to go it's two options. Everything you just said, a very close game. Could definitely see the emotions running high and Cal pulling off, or UCLA, just because they are more talented, scraping by with a 3-point win. Or the other side of the coin is they come and they actually are pissed about how it ended, pissed about what happened at the Rose Bowl, pissed about everyone saying their reign is not they ever had a reign really, but they're done for the foreseeable future. This is USC's town, and they come out just guns blazing and end up blowing out Cal. I'm not saying I believe that will happen. We'll obviously get to predictions at the end of the segment. But that is a real scenario where they maybe do come out, again, you are probably right. Charbonnet may not play, but if they can get the likes of their other backs going and whatnot, and DTR does play, and Bobo has a game, and Chip has a good game plan, and they really want to show the world that, and show the UC Regents like, hey, we're moving on. We are going to the Big Ten, and we are leaving this taste in Cal of getting blown out by us as we take the bus back down to LA and never have to come back to this stadium again, at least as a Pac-12 resident. So that wouldn't shock me either. I think the former is much more realistic for every reason that you said. My hope is that the latter happens, though. My hope is that they come out hungry, Jamal, and show the world that we weren't just a fluke team at the 12th overall ranking, that our non-conference schedule was weak, but that didn't define who we were as a team. Those wins against Utah and Washington, who are both in the top, 12 now, were very real wins, because that is the type of team we are. And I hope they show that 3-point loss to a team like USC, who has a shot at the college football playoff, was a very real battle of a game, and they're battle tested now. And I hope they're able to go up to Berkeley and, put up a 50 spot and hold Cal to 7 points. Not likely, but I hope, Jamal, because that would be the proper way to end this season, to end DTR's reign, to end Zach Charbonnet's reign. Even if they win by 3, it just wouldn't feel right ending the year like that.
No, for sure, Ryan. And when you look at the highest of the highs of starting 6-0 and having all of these expectations potentially that, hey, this could really be the year where everything is realized and the momentum is built, I do think that what, Chip and DTR and Charbonnet and the 20-plus seniors owe to each other, owe to the program, is really going out the right way with the right level of competitiveness and professionalism. And I certainly believe that they're going to approach the game that way. I think they just left so much out there. They gave it everything that they had against USC: body, mind, soul, spirit. DTR making blocks, getting hit, arguably concussed potentially a little bit, thumb taped up, just everything. The interceptions at the end there of just leaving it all out there. You wonder just how much is left. They may want it, but how much is the body and the heart going to give them in this game? And I think that's going to be really fascinating. And I think it's going to speak to Chip's ability as a coach. I think so much of the conversation moving forward is this is still one of the great offensive minds in college football. I think that's unquestioned. He still has the it factor in terms of the innovation, in terms of the creativity offensively. The big question with Chip moving forward is, A, does he build a defensive staff around credible individuals that aren't just folks that he has a connection to over the last several years? But then B, is he inspiring enough to be able to galvanize a team in adverse situations? Is he inspiring enough to recruit, whether that's 4-year guys or transfer guys, to come over? And so I think this is a great opportunity for Chip to show, I have the ear of my team. I know how to inspire a team after very difficult situations. And you don't need to be the rah-rah guy, the screamer, the charismatic guy, the verbose guy, the one who's always loudest and boldest and most rambunctious, that you can inspire in different ways and you can have different leadership styles. So I think I'm actually curious to see how this team responds to Chip in this game as well, moving forward, so he sort of can build consistency year over year moving forward.
Well, and that's why you have guys like Jerry Neuheisel and Deshaun Foster to be your rah-rah guys, to have Chip have the ear of the locker room, create a good game plan, have his team prepared, and then have Jerry and Deshaun go out there and rile the guys up and talk about playing for pride, playing for the name on the front, playing for your brother next to you, playing for the program, the future. Because everything you just said, I mean, this is a very important game for the future of this program. I mean, we've talked about a bunch. You've mentioned it. They are losing every pretty much star on this roster. I mean, besides maybe just a few here and there, but they're losing all their stars, all of their captains, all of their leaders to the draft and whatnot. And so this team is going to be not only rebuild in that entity, but they are going to have to try to persuade some different recruits that have yet to commit. They're going to have to really hit the transfer portal. And if you go out and lay an egg in this game, what does that tell potential future student athletes about your program and about your tenacity and about how you build young men in adversity? And so this is not only a huge opportunity, but it's also a kind of a must-win opportunity for the future of this program. And Jamal, I'll ask you about this. When you look at the defense, and the storyline all year long has been, it's not a strong defense. There's some strong pieces on it, but it's not a strong defense. And you go out last week, you have a lead, you end up obviously relinquishing that lead in the second half, really could not stop USC at all, which not many have been able to their credit, but weren't able to stop them at all, let them, get out in front. Now I want to see how much pride they have to play a Cal team that is not an offensive powerhouse. They have a good running back. They have Jack Plummer, who had a good game against USC, ironically enough, but outside of that, hasn't really done much. And so I want to see this defense with the Murphy twins, with Latu, with all these guys on their potential last game. Because a lot of these guys, they might not play in the bowl game either. So this may be their last stage to leave a legacy at UCLA. And they don't want their last game to be giving up 48 points to their biggest rival across town in Los Angeles. Now they can play their other big rival. And if they go out, show out, give up 7 to 10 points and show, hey, we're here to stay too. That to me is super important to end the season on.
No question, Ryan. I think you said it best, and you talked about all the folks that are potentially leaving. We know DTR is leaving. We know Charbonnet's leaving. We know Bobo's leaving. Michael Ezeike is leaving. I would probably advise Latu to leave, given his injury history and the fact that he's had such a great year. I think this is his window of opportunity in the NFL. You talk about the guys in the secondary, Blaylock, Osling III. So they're losing a ton, both on the field as well as off the field leadership. And you want to be able to carry that legacy forward and pass the torch to the Kirkwoods, to the Keegan Joneses, to the Colson Yankoffs, to the Kaz Allens, to the Kam Browns, and say, this is how you end your career, even through heartbreak the last couple of weeks, because this is what it means to be a Bruin. And that's how you build that culture year over year. If they lay an egg, then the next guys think, hey, maybe it's okay to do that. And you're not instilling those championship behaviors and those championship rituals year over year. So I completely agree with you on that front, Ryan. And, as we sort of clear the fog of the disappointment, beat Cal, win the bowl game, you still finish 10-3, tied for the most number of wins in a single season in program history. And when you factor in, UCLA has only had 3 top 25 finishes since 1999. This is an opportunity for a 4th top 25 finish during that period. So there's still a lot of history to be made and a lot of accomplishments to have. It's just that where we were in terms of the highest of the highs, where the schedule broke, it's tough to sort of see that. But there's still a lot to play for. And the last thing I'll say, Ryan, is you build great culture on the road. And this is going to be only UCLA's 4th road game. And when you look at who they've played on the road, they really haven't had much of a sample. They played a Colorado team where you could have played at home, you could have played on the road, you could have played on Mars. It doesn't matter. They're the worst team in America right now from a Power 5 situation. Playing Oregon on the road was a really, really difficult challenge. And then you had the one Arizona State game on the road where they looked really great, let them back in it, but closed it out. So they really haven't had much of a sample size on the road. And so to be able to have a quality road win at the end of this season is another thing to be able to build on for these young guys, to be able to give them that confidence that whether we play in a neutral site game, whether we play on the road, we have the opportunity to win every time we suit up. So that mentality of anytime, any place, anywhere, that used to be the slogan of the great Pat Hill in Fresno State. Doesn't matter who we play, we're going to suit up and give you 60 minutes of hell. That's another huge cultural element here to sort of establish moving forward for Chip and his staff.
Yep. So total culture game for this team, and culture building game, a way to end, legacies and playing days and whatnot. So prediction time. Got about a minute. What do you predict? I know which way you're leaning, but give us the full score prediction and why. Go.
Yeah, Ryan, I think it's going to be a little bit of a slog here. Cal's going to come out guns blazing. I think senior day, they've got the momentum. They're 4-7. This is it for them. There's no bowl game. The season ends. I think for them, it would be amazing if they could beat Stanford and beat UCLA in the same year, win the Stanford Axe, and sort of play UCLA with this whole region situation a couple weeks away. and really sort of have some bragging rights. So I think they're going to come out. Ott is obviously a very talented running back. Monroe Young has come out for Cal the last couple of weeks and really shown up. And you mentioned Plummer getting some momentum. So I actually think this is going to be kind of a closer game. I think DTR will play. I think Keegan Jones is going to have a lot of touches. Yankoff's going to have a lot of touches. This is going to be kind of a TMA, Kam Brown type of game as well. I think ultimately DTR makes enough plays with his arms and his legs, and UCLA pulls this one out. It's going to get a little ugly at times. It's going to get a little choppy at times, but I see UCLA winning this game 26-20. I think there's going to be a late score, a late interception there. UCLA pulls it out, gets to 9-3, and gets ready for Selection Sunday in terms of where they go bowling.
Love it. So, all right, I'll go opposite. I'll go optimist. It's holiday season. I mean, not that you still have them winning, but I'll go full optimist. I'm going to go UCLA wins big, comes out fired up, get their culture right. They win 38-10. Logan Loya has his best game of his career. He's the leading receiver for this team because he will be potentially wide receiver number 1 going into next year. So he sets the stage right. That's all the time we got for the UCLA segment. We'll be back at the bottom of the hour with our USC Trojans.
You're listening to the LA Football Podcast.